Welcome to our Portsmouth Corset dialogue. This is one of a series of spatial stories. We view ourselves as physical novelists, weaving together past, present and future, exploring the making and materiality of spatial practice. We consider the role of the architect as a physical novelist who weaves together past, present and future.
Our collaboration started as a friendship and where we taught together in undergraduate, and we've done so for the last 4 years. It started as a shared interest in introducing narratives and this practice to enrich the undergraduate teaching. Initially, we worked in parallel with one another, and we were, of course, aware of each other's work and our master's teaching. We like to follow opportunities and ideas without constraint. We see this as an open arts practice of collection and making. More recently, this energy has turned to our own making projects. In order to do this, we planned and booked a studio space. In the same space for an intensive period together, as we recognised the creative build-up needed a distinct location and time. It meant that we had to value what we were doing together in shared ownership with no hierarchy. We had no expectation, but were both hoping that we could work together. What surprised us was how we were able to co-work and co-produce. Reflecting on our diary, it soon developed that we could work in parallel and then bring these together later in the day or draw together directly. We felt no need to have a style. We were bringing identities and our artistic interest together. Stitch, thread, paint, print, mapping, drawing, and more. And following various and all leads in our inquiries.
Through starting, we discovered a series of methods, finding ways to co-work and co-produce. More recently, we have been working with the digital as much as physical, but we always start with physical drawing, mapping and collecting. The most exciting development was how the construction and transformation, collaging and overlaying ideas, photographs and recompiling images on the lightbox led to a series of surprising outputs. We think there is a strength of research through making because of the joy of the unknown output, the valuing of the journey, research as a verb, not a noun. We can now describe our journey as having two main attributes, those of active practice, writing, making, exhibiting, drawing, stitching, co-drawing and co-making, but also situated practice, the place-specific mapping and cartography, place-specific storytelling and place reading, and layering of the archaeological past, present and dreamed future to draw out a palimpsest of spatial meanings.
A project was born from the idea of the island city of stories, where we had been drawing out the island city of Portsmouth. This is where the idea of the corset emerged as it intertwined this idea of the city of makers, and for us combined the masculinity of the defended naval city and the corset-making naval wives. With the corset, we worked in collaboration with Vollers, the last remaining corset makers in Portsmouth. We started out thinking that the corset making was related to the sea and perhaps the use of whalebone and baleen. We discovered much more and that we had been quite wrong.
On our first day, we took the enormous risk that we would not be able to work together. However, we started by researching and mapping the locations of the corset makers in Portsmouth, and our second surprise was the domestic nature of the manufacturing addresses, not workshops, but homes scattered around the city, with the main design houses in London. Remembering that this was an age where everyone wore a corset, certainly all females, but also some men. We contrasted this to the ravelins and bastions, the satellite of defences that protect the harbour, military and masculine. These structures in both form and scale contrast the domestic and the body, then scale shift from the city to the house to the body.
At this point, we were working really fast, layering the corset fastenings and makings with the domestic terrace patterns and corset patterns and patterns of the city defences using maps. This method translated into co-drawing and layering of ideas on our light box. This we photographed at every moment and then inverted them to mimic the X-ray of the informed body within the corset. Picking up yet more speed, we started modelling and stitching, going from 2D to 3D, from globe to corset, from harbour to body, from terrace to zip.
Frustrated by the onset of the pandemic, lockdowns, and the attendant loss of our following studio workshop bookings, we turned to reflection and capturing the work of those 5 days in a book.
In this book, we deconstructed and reassembled the layerings and relayerings of what we'd done. We inverted and unravelled the shapes and patterns that we'd revealed from both the corset and the ravelin. We ended the week in the studio with many outputs and an appetite for much more.
Our question currently is, where will the journey take us? Copper formers, steam forming, harbour defences? Is the one output or several? Or is the journey the thing?